gonna get the Tahoe tuned, we're gonna finish up the front bumper, and hopefully we got ourselves a good service truck. Well, we're on our way over to get this truck dynoed. This is gonna be cool. Put the white buffalo on the dyno for the first time. See that it only makes 250 horsepower. That's totally fine. But it's exciting, a little nerve-wracking because I don't want anything to go wrong, of course. But at the same time, you know, we got to do what we got to do. So I'll update you on some dyno pulls. That day at the dyno ended up being a colossal fail, and that truck never made more than 225 horsepower. It was total user error. It was the tuner, and I spell that like Looney Tunes, his inability to tune the truck. But I talk about that a little bit more in the video. What I want to cover real quick is the cost of rebuilding, replacing this engine. So starting from scratch, here's pretty like a rough list. I'm sure I'm forgetting some stuff. But the cam kits, the starter that was in the truck was no good after we took it out. HB tuners cost money, sensors, the gaskets, you know, all the fluids and bolts that you need new head bolts. How many oil changes do you go through in zinc additive? Broke the trans cooler while replacing it. And that's something you have to keep in mind throughout this whole process of taking apart an old rusty truck is you're going to lose pieces, you're going to break pieces. The core, I bought the 4.8 LS, which there's no way to tell the difference between a 5.3 or 4.8 till you pull the heads off and see the flat top pistons. When I got the truck back from the mechanic that I had hired and it ran like a diesel, I thought there was, you know, maybe too much lift for the stock rocker, so I went with the Trunnion upgraded, you know, I think I got the Summit brand for those. Then, of course, labor, $500 a day, 5 days worth of work. The tuner, the dyno tune, $800 for a 2-hour session at most. And, you know, the total here, $66.50. That's what it cost for me to learn how to do all of this myself. And it's not ideal. It's not the price that I was looking to spend when I did it. If I had known that it cost this much getting into it, I wouldn't have done this. I was really left with no choice but to rebuild the engine and to learn how to tune it myself because I was at my wit's end. So that's what it costs to do this project. I think going forward, half the price at most to get more power out of these things. I think I'm going to do a lot better on my next build. Thanks for making it this far into the video already. Let's move over to some footage I recorded, a little bit of explanation of what's going on in detail with the truck and what happened. A lot of noise going on. Not going to be the easiest video to record, but we'll get it done. So it's been a couple months since I posted last. Truck's running. Did a lot of work between now and then. But I'll give you a little update of what's going on. Show you where we're holding with it. Pros and cons. And you know, as David Freiberger from Roadkill would say, don't get it perfect, just get it running. Welcome to Shadow City, where we can barely see what I'm filming, but here we are. Cold air intake, new throttle body, of course new sensors, mass airflow, map sensor, bunch of extra grounds from the alternator to the battery. Adjusted this. I've figured out that this voltage regulator that's on the ground cable for the battery is what was causing most of the fluctuation in my alternator. So I chased the grounds, cleaned everything up, but for the most part, that's good. It's got a couple miles on it now, and I could safely say that it runs decent. And I'll give you a little bit of a rundown. Give you a little snapshot of what's going on here. So check engine light still on for the MAF and MAP. I didn't finish tuning this truck yet. I'm driving it. You can see the oil pressure sensor let go, again, the new one. But volts are decent, temp's good. Let's see, how many miles since we started here? All right, so trip B, so 4,300 miles in the last about 6 weeks since I put it back into service. So, I mean, it's running. I think 4,300 miles is enough to show that. What else do we got? Average economy, 15.3 on the highway, but I rip it. I go pretty fast, and it's all upstate. I'm ripping through the mountains, upstate New York, Connecticut, and Pennsylvania. So that's really all I use the truck for, is to go back and forth. All this mileage is, you know, Interstate 84. And it's been running pretty good. I'm pretty happy with how everything turned out. The truck, you know, obviously needs a lot of help, but I'll explain why it's not tuned fully in this next segment. So one of the biggest issues I've run into while I was trying to fix this truck is hiring people has been the hardest part. I tried to hire a mechanic, he stole from me. I hired a tuner, I paid him $800, this guy, and I have some video of it on the dyno, but it was a colossal fail. The thing didn't make more than 225 horsepower. So I was pretty distraught. I'm like, in my mind, I had done all this work to put this truck together, spent all this money, and every step of the way I've been ripped off, I've been lied to, and you know, the old adage, if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. So that's what I did. I went and purchased HB tuners. I figured it out with the help of Goat Rope Garage, Low Buck LS, the HB Tuners forums. I still have a lot more work to do. It's not perfect, but it's not super lean or super rich right now. It idles, starts every time, and you know, it shifts on the highway like it should. I'm sure I could get better gas mileage. I'm sure I could squeeze out more power from it, and to get it idle smoother, I'm sure I could do a lot more, and I will over the next few months. But man, it was really tough to be ripped off by, like I said, the mechanic stole from me every step of the way. I mean, you saw what he did to the engine. He didn't even put the cam in right, couldn't align the cam sprocket, couldn't degree the cam rather. And then he's a 3-year-old guy who's got a dyno. So I trusted him for, you know, I looked at the reviews, 60 reviews. He seemed like he was, you know, apt for the job. But turns out he didn't do shit. He didn't change the cylinder volume. He never calculated going from a 5.3 to a 4.8. He did no work on the MAF. He did nothing. It was way too rich. All he did was add fuel to the VE table. You know, the old adage, you want something right, you got to do it yourself, and it's not perfect. The truck needs motor mounts. I regret that when this block went in, I didn't switch out the motor mounts. This was still while it was with the mechanic that I had hired. So he didn't even put bolt in the driver's side motor mount. I got to do front end work on it, you know, ball joints, upper and lower control arms. You know, it's 2-wheel drive, so that's not a big job at all. I got the spring assisted shocks for the back that I haven't installed yet, and I'm gonna do calipers, brakes, and rotors on it, and then it should be a pretty good runner. Pretty much the update. I'm wrapping up with the White Buffalo for now until I figure out putting it on a dyno again, possibly putting a turbo on it, or it might just be my, you know, mileage. I'm just gonna rack miles on it. Like, this thing does about 1,000 miles a week for me right now. I need something that I could just throw miles on and not care about it. And that's what this truck's shaping up to be. So I'm gonna leave this video off here with saying thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part of this series of the White Buffalo. It's not going away. It's going to be a part of the channel for a long time, and hopefully it becomes, you know, my goal is, with it being a two-wheel drive Tahoe, is eventually this will be a drag truck, and we'll gut everything out of it, drop it down to the ground, and give it, you know, however much horsepower we can. But for now, daily driving it. I'm really impressed with the 4.8 with the cam in it and a little bit of tuning. It makes plenty of power on the highway. We're gonna have to address the transmission eventually as well. For now, that's all. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.